that's great. And of course, everyone is always free to join these meetings. We're probably going to have like every 2 weeks kind of an alignment meeting, sometimes with external talks to give us some ideas what's going on in this field. And then, of course, we're also looking for hands-on contributions towards MONAI, right? MONAI is an open source project, and everyone can contribute via pull requests. So yeah, Praneet, you take over, please.
Yeah, thanks so much, Holger. Thanks everyone for this extremely enthusiastic response. This was it's great to have everyone join efforts together, and and then there was like a short presentation which I thought we can go over just to get. I think there's also a lot of new faces probably in the who are joining us today. So just to get everyone synced up on what are the kinds of things we are hoping to do, and what's our we can sort of go over our general operations. Okay, let me share my screen. So, okay. Welcome to the MONAI Federated Learning Working Group. If you've already been part of this, welcome back. So as most of you probably already know, MONAI is the medical open network for AI. So our focus is on healthcare and medical applications, and even more concretely, it's going to be mostly medical imaging applications, but more broader, like all kinds of medical applications are welcome. And particularly in this federated learning working group, we're really focused on getting federated learning for these medical applications, and how can we this group is incredible opportunity because there is such a huge diversity of participants and expertise. And yeah, we'll come to some of the group makeup and so on later, but the hope is that we can leverage all of your expertise and pool of all of our efforts to actually accomplish something for the medical and healthcare area. As Holger mentioned, Holger's been leading the Federated Learning Working Group for the last 2-3 years, and I recently joined to sort of help him a little bit in whatever way I can. I am assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science at USC. And we have the working group has like 75 plus members right now, and it's really a very diverse group. People from NVIDIA, King's College London, DKFC, Canon, NIH, Siemens, Oaken, Deloitte, Flower, Scale-Out, Flywheel, Rhino Health, INRIA, Memorial Sloan, Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and a couple of cancer registries, the Netherlands and the Norway Cancer Registry. And yeah, so it's an incredibly diverse group with so much expertise from industry, from academia, and also from these from hospitals and cancer registries, which is and the government funding agencies as well. So everyone knows what this is, but just to make sure we're on the same page, we in this working group, we're mostly going to be looking, I think, at the cross silo setup. So where we are there might be multiple hospitals, each with their own local and private medical data. Typically, this data is going to be medical imaging data. And our goal is to try fix whatever bottlenecks are facing real world collaborations between these multiple hospitals. And we want to do this in a way which protects the data privacy and also data sovereignty. And as everyone in this group probably already knows, the goal of federated learning is really to unlock this data availability and also make sure that much more diverse data sets are available for medical research. Data availability and data diversity are pretty much the number one blocker for medical progress, progress in medical research today. So if we can figure out how to do this, it can greatly accelerate medical research, which is what we're all here to do. So most the working group specific goals, broadly speaking, are to enable this acceleration of this medical imaging research by breaking down these kind of barriers between these institutional, both in terms of privacy, in terms of algorithms, in terms of tool creation, and whatever are the current bottlenecks. How can we get together and sort of solve them? And we also hope to create a community of academic, industrial, and clinical researchers working on federated medical imaging. And we can leverage this to create some state-of-the-art standardized workflows and modular components, which can then be used or implemented by all these other frameworks, which Holger mentioned. So there's a number of frameworks out there already for federated learning, and each of them are potentially so we don't want to be, MONAI FL doesn't want to just develop yet another framework for federated learning. Like, that's not our goal. What we really want to do is first create these standardized workflows, which then these other frameworks can potentially use, and or these modular components, which then anyone doing federated learning can then use. So this is the high level goals of the working group. And just to catch everyone up to what the FL working group has been up to so far. So one of the big accomplishments, I think, of the working group previously was this very cool. This MONAI has this very cool repository of models called the Model Zoo, where it makes it's I don't know if you can read these, but like if you have these MRI images, or if you have whatever task you have, like say you want to do generative diffusion for MRI data, or you want to do segmentation for MRI data, or uh, you know or you want to do classification on some pathology data. So the MONAI Model Zoo has these very carefully developed models and repositories already, which some of the other teams have been working on and developing. And so what the working group has done previously is how can we automatically leverage all these resources which the MONAI community has developed to do federated learning with them. So we can just take one of these packages. It's called a MONAI bundle, and then run it in a federated way across multiple hospitals. So this was one of a cool contribution which the working group has done so far. And also, as Holger mentioned, it sort of has become an hub for all these different existing federated learning frameworks, and showing how you can use all of them for federated medical imaging. Um, so and contributions along both these directions are still very welcome. So how can you so MONAI has been building these components for specifically for medical imaging, which are quite popular and established in the community. So how can we take these components and use them for federated learning, integrate them with all the other frameworks which are out there? Um, but this here, we when we were trying to decide, okay, what do we want to do next? Like what is like the clearly this kind of integration and tool development is important. But if we zoom out to this real world federated learning and how it works in practice, what are the actual bottlenecks which this research is facing? Like if why is federated learning not the default way for doing medical research today? And there's this amazing study done by Marcus and Ralph and a few others at DKFC. I think Marcus is with us today. Hi, Marcus. Um, and they identified that the actual algorithmic part of the federated learning is only this like tiny red box here. Like this is the all the algorithmic research we do is really only this part, and most of the time before is not really for the algorithmic part, but oh sorry, yeah, this red box here. The actual algorithmic part is just this black box here. And most of the other part is basically two components. One is these legal and uh, you know IT kind of issues, which that's just the nature of things, and there's not much we can do about them. But the other big chunk of time is taken up by trying to solve data issues. So things like coordinating data acquisition, like figuring out what kinds of data and who's collecting, if there are multiple sites which actually involve data collection, who's collecting what kinds of data, and like, what's your strategy for collecting this data and labeling this data, and figuring out how to are these data sets which have been collected actually compatible with each other. And it turns out that when you try combine data sets from multiple sites, a lot of like very subtle biases can creep in, and you need to uh, spend a lot of effort and time trying to figure out are these things easily combined together or not. In fact, I think it's very clear that a lot of machine learning and even these kind of new LLM, this is even been shown to true in this LLM world, where the most important thing for success of your machine learning method or your AI method is data quality. And it's no wonder that in real world FL, most of the time is spent on ensuring this data quality. However, federated learning has this added constraint that you're not allowed to directly inspect your data sets. So there's this added complexity that, okay, data is really, really important. And in fact, merging data sets from multiple sites can bring up a lot of issues, but we also cannot look at our data. So I think this is why it ends up being such a big bottleneck. So being inspired by this, we thought that this year the working group really should be focusing on data compatibility metrics or data quality metrics, or AI readiness metrics. Yeah, we can brainstorm a bit on what to call it as well. So we want to leverage the expertise of the working group to sort of identify, first of all, what can be common mistakes people can make when trying to merge data sets from multiple sites. Especially, so this is a very broad and very general question, which we cannot solve in like its full generality, but we hope to start with specific tasks. Say, for example, we can pick one of the task in the model zoo. Say segmentation of brain BART MRI. So we can pick something like this, and we can be as specific as we want or as general as we want, and say, okay, for this kind of task, what are the common mistakes which can happen? And then once we have this, we can turn those into some kind of metrics. So we can develop a suite of federated data fingerprinting metrics. We can sort of automatically detect these mistakes. And once we have these libraries, the hope is that these components can then be used very widely across these federated learning frameworks. Um, in fact, we can even go beyond these simple fingerprinting, and we can even use foundation models and LLMs as sort of feature extractors to do some automatic outlier detection. Um, so this is like the one of the main goals of this year is like, can we come up with as a working group come up with these data compatibility and data quality metrics and ways to identify biases and outliers in our data sets. And then once we have a set of tools, the hope is that we can leverage the expertise and the resources of all of you, all of us, to actually deploy some of these algorithms in uh, and test this MONAI federated learning components across potentially real world federated learning, where all of us take part in some kind of and simulation to try test some of these components we will develop. And I think this is something which would be extremely valuable for the community, uh, because not just for us in the working group, but really for the federated learning and medical imaging community even more broadly, because this really is the one of the top bottlenecks for medical imaging research today. And so I'm sure this will be very well received and by the community. So one of the other uh, goals for this working group is to try leverage the efforts which are going on across the other MONAI working group. So there's a deploy team which is actually looking at which would also be which is actually looking at real world deployment in terms of like how do we take these things which the MONAI teams all the working groups are developing and actually implement them in actual hospitals, and what are the bottlenecks which come up in like actual real world deployment. So they're doing some really cool work on like these more software engineering kind of efforts. And so we can so we can actually work with them to try get some of our things deployed as well and see how it helps them. Similarly, the transform team has been trying to understand how to automatically transform data sets to make them more compatible. So right now, it's the transform team is looking at something very uh, uh, I want to say specific. Like this is a very specific set of transformations they're looking at, but potentially we can use our data compatibility to sort of increase this automatic to improve this data compatibility across sites. Um, and yeah, there's I think a bunch of ways we can we can take advantage of the really cool work the other which has been going on around across MONAI. Um, uh, One of the we've already, like I mentioned, we've already leveraged the model zoo, but I think Holger and others have been working recently on foundation models and even vision language models for medical imaging, and how do we incorporate some of these school developments into federated learning. That's also something we can work on together. So we had a presentation a few weeks ago with the board where we uh, sort of had to pitch what we are going to do for the year, and it was a really productive discussion where we talked about this kind of what are the current bottlenecks which are going on in the community and what as we as a working group can accomplish. And there was a few main questions which were raised by the board, which I think would be nice for the entire working group to know. Uh, oh, by the way, they did approve us, and so we're now officially a working group. But uh, uh, the three main questions which they raised, which is first, so we should really think to maximize our impact as a working group. We should sort of not just focus on this tool creation, but really also integrating with the actual MONAI core GitHub repo. This is a repo which is used by thousands of people, medical researchers across the community, and so it's a great way for us to actually translate our research, our development, and our efforts into actual impact. Um, and along these lines, if any of you are interested in doing more outreach, for example, clearly the kinds of things we're interested in doing this year has some synergies with these data standardization efforts which are going on across medical research, like DICOM and a few others. I think Monarch is also another consortium. And from what I know, Rhino Health and a few other of the industries as well who are with us today are interested in this. So it'd be great to sort of figure out how we can sync up efforts and pool in our efforts to get this done. And if any of you are interested in, say, you create a component which fits in our agenda as we discussed, and you want to publicize it more, we can together write blog posts using this MONAI platform to boost it, or organize workshops and tutorials, and basically any of these kind of outreach which you think could be done better under this umbrella would be great to do. And finally, there's this other, I think, a really interesting question for federated learning, which I think the community is grappling more generally, and it was also raised by the board. What is the where is the balance between where if we have these like amazing vision language models, can we just use in context learning where we feed in some little bit of local data, and that's all we do? So we just do some local adaptation of these foundation models. Is that sufficient? And versus this full scale federated learning where multiple data points needs to be pulled together, and where is there a real is there a real need or advantage to this like multi-site approach? And so I think these are all some things to keep in mind as we make progress throughout the year, and would love to hear more of your comments. Are there any questions or comments from the participants?
I think this is a great idea using the adaptive learning. Like if we use the actual federated learning, there could be so much communication overhead. So adaptive learning, it's a great idea using a foundation model and then downstream those tasks. I think it's great. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So yeah, so hopefully, so it was basically just that's all basic all I had. Um, for hopefully it's clear like what the goals are of the working group, and the way we will roughly operate is actually let me quickly go over some of the survey results as well. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so there were 72 and more, few more responses to the survey, which is amazing. And about 80%, which is like 50 plus people, are already engaged in already engaged in federated learning research. So it's an amazing pool of talent and expertise we have in the working group right now. And most of the participants are researchers and developers, with a few of you being clinicians, and I think there's a lot of industry presence as well. So there's a lot of development which is also in the community right now. So the distribution of topics, So 40% is directly involved in healthcare and medical research, and under 40% is this broad umbrella of academia, which, yeah, I guess can be a superset. So, and the rest is sort of very diverse amongst a very diverse set of sectors, which is very cool. Again, like, we really have like a amazing concentration of expertise in the working group. Um, so given I think the strong presence of academia in the working group, one of the big motivations for which for the group seem from the survey is publishing, and I think we can absolutely accomplish this. So along with developing this suite of federated data quality metrics and running a real world test, in fact, I feel like there hasn't really been a paper. There's been a number of high profile, large scale publications on running federated learning on medical data sets, but never not anything so far on this surfacing these data integration issues and developing solutions for these data integration issues. So I think this could be something we can absolutely accomplish. And most of the participants preferred Tuesday morning, so, or for me morning, for you guys, everyone's from across the world. So yeah, happy Tuesday, wherever you are. So we decided to shift our meeting schedule from weekly from Wednesday to Tuesday, because that's the day which works for most of you. So the way we will, given the makeout of the working group, I think going forward, the way we will do is we will try bring in, especially with this with this need for outreach, we will try bring in external experts who have done some work on these data integration and data quality metrics. Oh, there's also some active questions in the chat. Okay. So yeah. So we will bring in experts, expert speakers on this data quality metrics, and some of you have already done some amazing work on that. And the other weeks we will use to sync up efforts and try figure out a concrete research plan and research and development plan over the next coming weeks. Anything you wanted to add, Holger?
Oh, thanks very much, Praneeth. I think this was a great overview. And yeah, we definitely, since sending out this call for participation, we've seen quite a bit of interest from like new members of the working group. So yeah, thanks for forwarding the call to other people who are interested. I also see a few familiar names from the last years in the participation. So yeah, welcome back everyone. And yeah, so we're kind of looking for your feedback for the interest in these topics that Praneeth described, right? Is that something where somebody feels they could contribute in some way? Maybe there are some synergies with other efforts out there that are already ongoing. I know there are a couple of folks from INRIA, right? Marco Lorenzi's team. I know like these kind of challenge and standardization of data sets, I think, is also related to what we're thinking about here, right? There have been efforts like Flumby, which Praneeth has also been involved in. So maybe there's some way to collaborate in this direction, right? Yeah, so feel free to shoot us messages, continue attending these meetings. I think we already have some external speakers lined up for the next 3 weeks to give us some new ideas as to where the field is going. yeah, open to any questions also to discuss now. We still have some time, I think, for this meeting slot.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Hi, Sumit.
Hello. Yeah, hi, I'm Sumit. So I just wanted to know, like, what is the difficulty with the data quality actually? So I'm a PhD student. I'm working in the Fed average algorithm, actually, algorithmic research in a federated learning. So actually, recently I just went through one paper saying some data quality metrics, right? So I just wanted to understand, like, what is the problem with those data quality? Like, what actually you want to say there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think this might be useful for the rest of the working group as well, to chime in. And if any of you have seen issues, I'm sure all of you have seen issues on what could happen when trying to merge data sets. But essentially, the key question we're trying to tackle is the data curation is such an important facet of the whole machine learning pipeline. But in federated learning, we can't manually inspect the data. And so we need to develop some automated ways of doing this. The main goal is how can we accomplish that?
It's like from our experience running federated learning and real world studies, right, of medical imaging. You can imagine it's not like everyone has already pre-prepared data sets for a new project, right? Typically, the first step in running a study is acquiring the data and then pre-processing it in a certain way. And that pre-processing has a lot of possibilities for errors, right? There could be just changes in the way the data is acquired that are very different across different sites. Then there could be mistakes in the data pre-processing, things like that. So how can you, as a researcher, then trying to develop an AI model using federated learning, how can you know if the data is prepared in the right way or it can throw off your model, right? So this type of remote assessment of the data is needed in order to train AI models successfully using federated learning. Yeah.
Okay, so your metric means you're just trying to quantify the quality actually, right? Like,
I think quality assessment is a first step towards something that's very practical, right? If we can have some measurements that tell us how different is the data, is it even prepared in the right way for training your model? Of course, all at the same time while preserving privacy, right? So these kind of questions we need to address, because as we saw, like there's even this very nice paper from Marcus at DKFZ that Praneet showed in one slide, where like the majority of the time spent to run a federated learning study was on the making sure the data is correctly pre-processed and things like that.
okay, thank you.
I guess a follow-up question would be, like, let's say everything is pre-processed correctly, but you still have a lot of heterogeneity, right? How can you deal with that? I mean, that's basically, I think, where most of the FL research has been focused on in the last 3 years. So there are a lot of interesting algorithms that could try to deal with the data heterogeneity. But I think for practical FL, you're not even addressing that yet, right? We need to first make sure that the data quality is good enough. Okay, hey, Anthony, you raised your hand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Anthony from Rhino Health. Can you guys hear me?
Nice to meet you. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you both. Great presentation. I was wondering about this what we're just mentioning now. Glad you bring it up, because I went on Google for the paper that speaks about Marco's team, and look at there's a table that shows all the different steps. I found that very interesting. working on the space. We're trying to help do this faster. So I'm in product. So doing that research is great to understand the user issues. The time that you mentioned that you show in the Gantt charts, is that part of the paper? How was estimated, or is that something you guys estimated yourselves?
So I think we had Marcus as joining us. Yeah, maybe you want to chime in, Marcus.
Yeah, hi. I'm Marcus from DKZ, and yeah, thanks first for the interest in the paper. So we did the Gantt chart to firstly and foremost show the time dependency of the individual steps. So I think in the last presentation that I had it here in the MONAI call, I still had on the x-axis actually the days. But then people were really keen on discussing on the days, and they were roughly like that, but I did not want to put the focus on the days because I was not part of the legal team, obviously, because I was like, I'm a computer scientist, and I was not involved in finding the contracts. But this Gantt chart was mainly for to show the time dependencies and basically also show which milestones have to be achieved before you could proceed in our example.
Okay, yeah, I found it very intuitive to drive attention to the tasks that probably took the longest. I think it's less about if it takes 3 days or 20, but more about where the most effort is put on. So I appreciated that visualization, but understand the challenge with the legal part of it. Thank you. I'll check the article more in detail. I put it in the chat to double check if it was the right one. But
yeah, I think that's the paper. Yeah, so we have time, as Holger mentioned, to sort of if right now, if you have any questions, thoughts, or suggestions, or if any of you have suggestions on how, if there's someone else we should invite, feel free to either directly reach out to them or just ping me or Holger, and we can also reach out to people. Or if you both to add as part of the working group, or as to invite some for a talk. And more importantly, we're looking for contributions. Hopefully, over the coming few weeks, we'll build out like a concrete agenda for what we actually, how do we translate these data quality metrics, quality assurance metrics. What are like the specific metrics, and if you have suggestions, just again feel free to send them. I'll try set up. I'll get a Google Doc up and running where we can all discuss with each other through comments and text, and all of you can propose some, just add a line, add a bullet point to the doc, saying this could be a potentially interesting metric for us to use, maybe 1 or 2 sentences, and then hopefully others will chime in and point out the strengths and flaws, and we can use this Google Doc to do this discussion offline, and then use our bi-weekly meetings to sort of sync up and re-examine our progress. And so we're looking for active involvement from all of you, hopefully. And also, if you're interested in development and you would like to actually contribute to implementing some of these metrics, again, reach out. This would be extremely valuable, and your contribution will be, of course, like hopefully the goal would be to make it them part of the core MONAI network. And I think Marcus had a comment. So if you have any suggestions, both for who we could invite, as well as what concrete metrics I'm hoping everyone of you will pitch in on in this discussion of these metrics. And then if you're really interested in, say, you're a PhD student, or if you're interested in actually implementing some of these, I think this would make for like an excellent project. Yeah, and then the next step is once we have something implemented, we can actually run them in practice on real world use cases and yeah, do something cool with it. I'm excited.
I think also a major focus is going to be on the publication side, right? We saw in the call that a lot of you are interested in writing whatever comes out of these efforts up as a paper, right? And we can hopefully target a high impact journal.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I really think this is like like Anthony pitched in as well. Like this is something which the community really needs like today, and we can have a lot of impact, I feel. Oh, thanks, Marcus, for the suggestion. Yeah, we can reach out to.
Yeah, so this Nabil from Cambridge, I think he was just interesting. Maybe you can check it, because he also had a paper about matrix about sample hardness estimation. But I actually wanted to ask something else, as you were now talking about publications, but also about real-world deployment of the efforts of the group. Is there somehow the opportunity to actually deploy in real-world consortia or something than the developments of the MONAI FL group? Or would it be in the end then that we take, for example, the Flamby benchmark and just put artificial noise on it and then just try out our methods?
Yeah, because we have such a diverse participation. In fact, like I didn't show the distribution of the geographical locations, but it's really from all over the world at our participants joining us today. So it would be amazing if we could leverage that, and each of us from each of our institutes could form a consortium and test it out. I think that would be the simplest and most impactful way of doing this. We could also talk, I think, to the MONAI deploy team to see if they have additional suggestions. But for the sake of, say, the publication and research, I think we could just establish a consortium amongst ourselves, and it would not really be it would not actually be deployed in hospitals. It will still be a simulation, but hopefully a much more realistic simulation than something like Flamby.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I guess we also have participants who are running real-world federated learning studies right now, right? So there is maybe potential to deploy something within an existing consortium as well. Okay. Should we call it a day for today?
Yeah.
Just so everyone can think a little bit more about how they would like to engage this working group and get involved. And yeah, we'll send out more meeting invites in the next few weeks, and also information about the external talks. And then we can go from there. Sounds good. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank
you. Okay, bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.